Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're doing okay this evening. It is 10:05 p.m. on March 23rd, 2025, here in the southern tip of Illinois in the US of A. And tonight, I just wanted to do a video, and first I want to thank everyone for getting me over the 1,000 subscriber mark here on YouTube. I know that's not a big deal for most people, but for me, in a little shit channel like this, that's a pretty big deal. I never thought I would get that. So, thanks everyone that watches and has watched and has subscribed. I really appreciate it. Now tonight I just want to do a little slideshow type of video. I was going through some of my backup drives that I found in my computer stuff. They're all solid state backup drives, but they're USB. And I found some pictures of some of my radios that I've had over the years. Now, they're no particular order. I'm just going to do them as I come across them here. And maybe they'll tell you a little story behind them or whatever. But, yeah, these are just some, not all, but some of the receivers I've had over the years. So let's just launch this out. First up, and again, no particular order. This was my Alinco. I think it was the DXR8T, something like that, or R8T. So it was one of those. I had this about 2 months, and I don't know what it was, but the receiver was good. I had no problems with it. It was sensitive, seemed good, but for some reason I didn't warm up to it. It just didn't do it for me. So after about 2 months, I sold it. But I do remember painting these little lines here. There's a little line there built into the rubber, and you couldn't see it. So I painted them black with a little toothpick, or I painted them orange with a little toothpick to match kind of the buttons, and that helped. But the radio in general, like I said, I just didn't warm up to it. So after about 2 months, I sold it. And, don't really miss it. I can honestly say I don't really miss it. I think this was discontinued too pretty quickly. So I don't think it sold a whole lot, but I could be wrong there. But yeah, this is my Alinco DXR8T. So now this I just got December of 2024. This is my Shangyang, I guess, LC90. As you can see there, it's an AM, FM, shortwave internet radio. I really like this radio. Sounds great. I use this mostly on the internet side, listening to music and stuff like that. I have tried it on shortwave. It works okay if you turn the Wi-Fi off inside the radio, and but it will overload pretty easy on my antenna. So I use it sometimes for local FM, medium wave sometimes, but mostly internet radio. And they just did a firmware update on it and added RDS to it. It's really nice. This is one of my favorite little portable internet radios. So let's see what's next. Okay, this is just some of my accessories. This is the MFJ 616, I believe, speech intelligibility enhancer. And my hearing's not what it was at 58, but this is not hooked up. I haven't hooked this up in a while. This little tuner, it's not hooked up. It's just sitting on the shelf for a place to sit. This is my GPS disciplined oscillator. I got that probably 2019, late 2018, early 2019. I tested the accuracy of my ICOM 8600 with it, but it's not hooked up to anything. It just sits there. This is my BHI DSP box with the little equalizer. I do have this hooked up. This is hooked up to my ICOM 8600, drives two of these speakers here. And a lot of people don't like them, and that's fine. I don't think a lot of the DSP stuff really sounds great, but this takes a lot of the fatigue down of my listening, especially since I have a low noise environment where I live. if I've got one of those stations that's just above the noise floor, I can turn the DSP on and be able to listen to it. This is my noise canceling signal enhancer, and since I have a low noise environment and I don't have any interference, I use it as a signal enhancer. I have a 40-foot wire on here, and my Alpha Delta DX Ultra is my main one, and I can turn the gain up and down, and I can maximize the signal, and I also use it during the spring and summer to help minimize that static crack that I get from distant lightning, because that gets annoying sometimes, but that's what that's used for. This right here is my rotator control for my little magnetic loop, my DXE R Pro 1B. This is the rotor control to turn it. This is my old Radio Shack linear 3 amp power supply. I got this back in 1997. Still works perfect. And I mean, rock solid. Doesn't even get warm that much. And I've used it since 97. It's still a good power supply. I can't tell you how solid that Radio Shack, or whoever it was that made this for Radio Shack, made that. But damn, it's been great. Over here is my little CLR DSP. That's I don't know what brand that is, Clear Wave or something like that. Clear something, I don't know. You might recognize it. But it's not hooked up either. I was thinking about hooking it up to my SAT 800, but I haven't done it yet. All right, let's continue. Okay, this is my Bearcat BC895 XLT scanner. Now, I've used this since the late 90s. I just now took it out of commission. Still works perfectly. I just took it out of commission because I've upgraded to a Uniden BS200 or something, whatever it is. I'll show it to you in a minute. A digital scanner. But this still works great, and I might hook this back up out in my garage, put my other Discone on there and listen to Airband and stuff when I'm in the garage. I don't know yet, but it still works perfect. And this came from, I forgot where I got this. I think it was a store called Service Merchandise back in the late 90s, 97, 98, somewhere in there. Again, a rock solid scanner. So next, this is my Ocean Digital, sort of a tabletop internet radio. And it's just internet radio. It's FM. And this is the WR200D or something like that. Had this about 3 years now, I guess. 3, maybe 4 years. Love this one too. Fully remote, plays SD cards, all that. Really nice. Here's another scanner I had. I don't know what the model number is. I don't say it on there, but it's a 200 channel. But I've had this one for a long time too. I used to use this, and I would sit outside in the afternoon, and I would take this out there with me and listen to it. But it eats batteries, and it's just a pain to carry around now. So it just sits on the shelf for decoration. Here's my 70th anniversary Universal Radio Cup that they sent me when I ordered something, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Now that Universal Radio is closed, it's kind of a souvenir from the past. Here's my SDR Play RSPDX and my AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. Now I will be replacing this with the new model, the RSPDX-R2, sometime here pretty soon. Just the only thing wrong with this SDR Play is I think the circuit that isolates the switch when you change these went out, because I can have my antenna on C like it is here. I can select B and A, and the signal it doesn't change. It just blows through there. So what I've done, I've got down here where this goes, there's a switch down here, a coax switch. And I just have my Discone, my loop, and my dipole on that switch go into one input, and I just select whatever antenna I want because, like I said, these don't work like they should. And my little air spy HF Plus, I bought that used 3 years ago, I guess now, 2, 3 years ago. Works great. Just updated the firmware on it. Yeah, here's the new scanner that I just got in January of this year, 2025. The SDS 200 unit, and it works pretty good. It does allow me to hear some stuff that I couldn't hear on my other unit in that I just showed a few pictures back. But it's, it does work pretty good. You got a damn nice screen on it, and I listen to it, sometimes. But I'm not a big scanner listener like I used to. And when I do listen to the scanner, I have a program on here called Scanner Radio. I'll show that at the end of this. And what's next? This is linear power supply, SL15R. I forgot what brand this is. Astron. That's what it is. The SL15R linear. This has a fan in it when it gets warm. I use this on my ICOM 8600, and it's very solid. I put a voltmeter on the front of it to monitor it, and never had a bit of trouble with it. Now this is a supersonic SC1082, as you can see right here. It plays a USB music off USB and a memory card. I found this at my local Menards home improvement store, and it was $5. And I thought, well, hell, for $5 I'll pick that up. And it actually is not bad on the telescoping antenna. It's pretty good on shortwave, good on FM. I use it sometimes, when the power goes out, or just I take it down and just listen to it sometimes. But mostly I bought it because it was $5, and it had shortwave on it and everything. So, but it turned out to be a pretty decent little $5 radio. Couldn't go wrong there. So, pretty nice. All right, here's my Samlex power. You can see there's SEC 1235P-M. This is a switching power supply. Now, I tried this on my ICOM 8600, and I have to say, this power supply is damn quiet. There is no noise from it. No switching noise, no interference anywhere on the bands. From long wave all the way up through 3 gigahertz on that ICOM 8600. You don't even know this thing is running. It's so quiet. And I'm going to hook this back up to my 8600 before too long. I was doing some testing on it, and I just ended up leaving the Astron hooked up to it, the linear one, because I ran out of time, and I just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. But I'm going to put this back on my ICOM because it's much more energy efficient. It runs cooler, and like I said, it's damn quiet. So this is a very nice power supply. The analog meters I like too, because sometimes I like them better than digital, but it's okay. All right, I've had this one a long time, the PowerWorks SPS 30DM. This is also pretty damn quiet. Well, it's very damn quiet. You can adjust the voltage. You can see here, adjustable fix. I use this I was using this to run my BHI box. And then I dug out that Radio Shack linear power supply. And I use this one. Sometimes I'll take it out to my garage and I'll use it on things when I'm testing for automotive stuff. Good, because I can change the voltage. But it's a very damn rock solid power supply. I had it for close to 10 years, I guess. Never failed me. Still perfect. And here's the Radio Shack 3 amp power supply again. A little bit closer. Yeah, they made was it a 10 volt or 12 volt, or not a volt, but a 10 amp or an 8 amp for one of these, and I wanted to get that one, but I never did. And of course, people want an arm and a leg for them on eBay, because a lot of people think vintage means expensive when it really don't. So I've stuck with this one. Don't need any more power supplies anyway. Okay, here's my. Okay, this I've had since the mid '90s. This is a Grundig Yacht Boy 500. Works pretty good. I've only used it a handful of times. I had this sent to me by some relatives, and I got this before they were even for sale here in the U.S. And it's not bad. I don't use it much at all. It's kind of a pain in the ass to tune and do all this stuff, and I mostly just keep it for the nostalgia of it and the sentimental reasons because, you know, but it's in mint condition. I still have all the original books, the original case, everything, and it's been all right. Here's the case to it, the original case, and it's still perfect. Here's of course is my ICOM 8600, and the BHI box I was talking about. Showed it runs these two speakers here. This is just for show. It's the ICOM speaker. I just got it sitting there because I think they look good together, but it's not hooked up. The sound comes out of these two speakers here. And this one I got in August of 2019. August 30th, 2019 was the very first night I hooked it up and turned it on. Great receiver. I like having an SDR in a tabletop when I don't want to use the computer or anything. But I've done videos on this. There's a few things about it that annoy the shit out of me. And there's some things that I think, well, why didn't ICOM put that on there? They put that on the 7300. But it's just one of those things. I do think this, for a receiver, this is overpriced. It's like $2,400 now. I got this one for $16, brand new in 2019. But 24, I think, is a little bit overpriced now. This is a H501X Texan. Got this used about 3 years ago. Works perfect. Looks brand new. Not a spot on it. Don't use it much. I use it sometimes, like when the power goes out and I want to listen to shortwave, or I take it outside in my yard swing at night with my headphones and tune around outside at night. Works really good. Sounds great. Not a bad radio at all. The DX390. This was from my local Radio Shack. Bought this back in '97 from my local Radio Shack. This up here, this is where I cleaned it, and a little bit of the cleaner went around this glass, and it never dried up. It was like an Armor All based. It don't affect it in any way. And this little plastic bezel, I guess, is kind of warping a little bit, but it's still flush. But this radio works like brand new, and you can see there's not hardly a scratch on it, and works just like it did the day I took it out of the box. I still have the original box with it, and I forgot what I paid for this, but it was dirt cheap because I used to work on the manager at my local radio shop. I used to service his car, and in turn he would give me like 50% off of anything in the store anytime I wanted. So everything I went to Radio Shack and got, I got 50% off of it. But yeah, this lot of great nights listening to stuff on this radio back in the 90s, because it takes my big antenna really well too. Not even a hint of overload. Okay, here we saw this again, LC90. Okay, here's my Grundig Sat 800. This is from 2003. This model, this one here is probably, it was manufactured 2003, just a few months before they were discontinued. So this one has all the QC issues fixed. Has the ball bearing, metal knob, solid sync. I mean, this radio has never let me down since 2003. It's a great radio. It's still solid, rock solid, works perfect. And Yeah, I can't say anything bad about this. I wish it did have, like a couple extra things, maybe a noise blanker up here or noise reduction or, a pass band, something, but for what it is, I, I've never ever regretted buying this since I got it in 2003. And, yeah, it's been a great radio. Still use it quite a bit. All right, you can't really see this. This is a picture from my photo album. I had my Drake R8. This was the Drake R8A. I got this in early 1996, late 95, 96. I had the matching speaker, and I also had the VHF converter board in it. And I loved this radio. I really did. But I got sick in 97, and I had to cut back on my job and stuff until I recovered. And I had to end up selling this because it brought the most money to help pay some of my medical bills. And I wanted to get another one, but I'm not paying $1,000 for them on eBay right now, for a radio from the 90s. I'm just not doing it, especially when for $600 more, I had my Icom 8600. But God, great memories of this radio. This was, just, it was a league of its own, really in my opinion, in my book, because I'd never had the JRCs and the Yaesus and stuff. I had the R8 and this one, and I loved them. Love the R8s. Okay, now here's that power supply from Radio Shack. This is from 97, and you can see here's the power supply. I'm still using it today. This was a power SWR meter. This was a Uniden 40-channel mobile CB radio that I got. That I put in my truck later on. I had a little Ford Ranger, and it wasn't too old here. And I had it sitting on the shelf because it was during the winter time, and I wasn't going to get out and lay in the driveway and wire this in my truck yet. So it was sitting on the shelf. My DX394 from Radio Shack. Bought that brand new. Got it 50% off. I got this is the last version, the B model. I think I got it for $69. And these were a couple of little speakers, I believe, that I had hooked up to it. And this was my big CB base station. This was the Cobra 1000, 40 channel, single sideband. I had extra channels put in it, and you can't see it a little bit right there. There was a D104 power mic. And I had this all peaked up, and I could set 10 feet away from this, key this up with a pool cue, and it sounded like I was just right there by it. It was so sensitive. You could hear a clock ticking on the wall. You can kind of see a little better right there in the picture. But down here also underneath there was a little 500 watt linear. And this was fed into a Antron 99 ground plane that went just outside this wall here. And it was up about 30 feet, something like that. And a lot of nights me and my one friend talked on that good old channel 37 lower sideband is what we talked about for years. And here's a better picture of it. Here's another, I don't know if this was a Uniden or a Cobra, but it was one of them. It was a 40 channel, it was kind of a big deal at the time. And here you can see it better. It had the clock on it and all this stuff, and the D104, like I said, the linear, and it was going up. That might be the antenna wire going outside right there to the Antron. I used the big, from Radio Shack, the RG8. And like I said, when I turned the linear on, I could pump out about almost 600 watts out of this thing. And that was fun. But me and my one friend, we talked on 37. Sometimes it was channel 37 upper side, sometimes the 37 lower side. But we talked on CB to each other almost every night or every other night back in the 90s. And it was fun. Like I said, this was 96 or 97. And here's just a little picture. And this is an MFJ box, but I forgot what it was. This was a little Sony multi-band radio. One of those that has AM, FM, shortwave 1, shortwave 2, and different, the different shortwave bands. I don't know what model number it was. Can't tell. This little MFJ world clock, I still have that. It still works. I have it sitting on my desk right now. You'll probably see it here in a minute. And of course, here's my R8A. I had the alphanumeric display on. I was listening to the BBC, and you can see where my signal meter was back then in the 90s. Yeah, I could kick myself for having to sell that. And you can see the clock quit working on my CB, and it just went out, and it had some weird characters on there, and I just, now what's weird about this CB, this base station, is I went to work one day. It was about 1998, somewhere around there. Nice day. I got up, I went to work. The afternoon, a thunderstorm come up. And I came home, and lightning had hit my Antron 99. It blew that antenna into 1,000 pieces out in my yard, and it completely just destroyed this radio. I mean, it melted some of the circuits in there, and it just, I parted it out. I took the knobs off and just got rid of it. But yeah, it got hit by lightning and taken out. And here's a closer look at my DX394. I don't know what I was listening to on 5975 back then, but again, this was 96 through 98, I guess. 96 through 99. So I don't know what was on back then on that frequency. But this was the B model, the B version. And Passport to World Band Radio, they didn't give this little radio very good reviews, but I found it to be quite nice to operate. I enjoyed it. It never gave me any trouble, and there was something about this little radio that I just liked. And this was part of the one I had to sell along with my R8A to pay for medical bills. And I still miss this one too to this day. But again, you can find them on eBay, but I'm not paying the prices people want for them. But I have great memories of this too, and I do miss that one. And there's my unit and scanner from back then. And this was a Linko, or not a Linko. I forgot what brand it was. There's my world clock. There's a little Sony radio in the box. A little tape recorder hooked up to my R8A. But yeah, that's the same scanner, that original one I showed. Now here's my loop. It's a DXE RF Pro 1B magnetic loop from DX Engineering. Got this, from DX Engineering back in 2021, early 2021. I never had a loop before. Wanted one. When I got these loops now are about $800. When I got this one, it was $349. That's how much the prices went up on these since 2021. But I got this for $349, and this is about, now I know all you people out there on the metric, you have to figure this out because I'm not sure what it is. But from here to here, the very top of this loop is about 8 feet off the ground. And you can see the rotator there. And it works very good. I don't use it that much, but I use it sometimes during the spring and summer when there's lightning crashes and static from lightning. I use it sometimes, and just to calm down the atmospheric noise. And you can see my Alpha Delta back there. You see, here's my Alpha Delta DX Ultra. This was during the winter ice storm we had back in January of this year. I bought this antenna at the same time I bought my Drake R8 back in 91. It's been up since 1991. Now, over the years, I have changed the coax, because out here in the country, see, we own all these woods. These are about a little over 40 acres of woods. I got trails all through there. And my yard's about 3 acres. And over the years, just out here in the baking in the sun, I've changed the coax. I had to change this mast that it was on. It used to be on one of those old TV tower masts that's kind of a triangle that you could climb. But it started rusting so bad, I was afraid that a good wind was just going to break that TV tower in half. So I got this. This is a real thick fiberglass, so it won't interact with anything. And I got it glued together and clamped together and on a winch right here. So when I want to surface this, I just unhook the ends. I unhook this little clamp and I can stand there and just winch it down, and this whole tower will just lean down. I rest it on a sawhorse and I can surface it up here. But this antenna, it's a quiet antenna. It's high gain. I love this antenna. It was the #1 rated shortwave antenna in Passport to World Band Radio for 10 years at least, until they ceased production. And if you have the room for it, I highly recommend this antenna. I know a lot of people like to build theirs, and that's fine. But this, from this side to that side, is 80 feet wide. From the ground to the top here is about 25 feet, something like that's what I've got it. And I've got it, the coax is DXE 400 Max. And down here in this little box, there's a lightning surge protector. And then the coax goes underground and comes into another surge protector before it goes into the house. But it's all underground. Works great. And here's my R8. This was my first really big receiver. I started, shortwave listening stuff in the last half of the 70s, and AM radio, FM radio, and shortwave, one of those little multi-bands. I wasn't a dedicated shortwave listener until the early 80s, but I'd tuned shortwave bands since the late 70s. And all through the 80s, when I was in junior high and high school, I graduated high school in 85. And then I did a couple of years college, and I went to work. And during that time, I, just listened to little portables and stuff like that I had. And in 91, when I met my wife and we got engaged and we moved out here in the country, I wanted a big antenna, so I got that Alpha Delta DX Ultra, but I wanted finally a good receiver. And this R8 Drake had just come out with this R8 about 4 months earlier. And I knew they were coming out with it because I used to read all the magazine stuff. So I started saving up for it, working overtime. And finally, in the fall of 91, I was able to order it. And I had this receiver until mid-spring, about a year ago right now, of 2024. And it finally just gave it up after 32 years, 33 years. It went completely out. And I tried to power it on a power supply. That didn't work. Plugging it in the wall didn't work. I checked the fuses. They were fine. And it had a burnt odor. Like, I think something on one of the boards burnt. It didn't get hit with a surge that I could tell. I mean, I don't know, but a lot of people said I should have fixed it. But a lot of people here in Illinois, if you found someone to fix it, you'd have to ship it. And shipping is just ungodly. Then the cost to have it fixed. And I had my ICOM 8600 and I had my RSP DX. And I thought, well, let's just leave it and remember it the way it was. And yeah, maybe that's the wrong way to look at it. I don't know, but let's just leave it the way it was, and can just let it go with memory. And that's what I did. I have fond memories of it, and I miss it. But again, here's another one that I'm not going to pay the prices that people want for it on eBay. And there's really no need to now when I've got the receivers I have. But this kind of kicked in my guts when this went out. And if somebody would have been close, that it was reliable, could have fixed it, I probably would have had it done. But shipping it halfway across the country and then trying to find somebody and pay 50, 60, $70 to ship it, and then the cost to have it fixed, and then you still have a radio from the 90s. I just didn't want to do that. It was just a financial decision, but what a damn good radio that was. And here's my current little corner. Here's that world clock. And yeah, and everyone from the 70s and 80s will remember these. I'm sure you had parents or grandparents that had these hanging on the wall. And just little Bluetooth speakers and little lights. And this is just my little corner. And my SDR and my computer over here. And that's just what it looks like now. That's what I listen to now, and that's it. So, yeah, a lot of good memories, good shortwave memories, and I don't have near as many receivers today as I had back then because I just don't see the need to. I've got a good setup in a low noise environment. There's no reason to keep spending money on receivers and stuff when I'm not going to get any benefit out of it. But, yep, that's just some of the pictures I had. I know I had some more, but I couldn't find them or I haven't ran across them yet. But that's just a little bit of visual representation of some of my equipment. So I want to thank everybody again for putting me over the 1,000 subscriber thing. That's not a big deal for a lot of people, but for me, it surprised the hell out of me. And so thanks everyone for that. And I hope everyone's experiencing good conditions, and I will see you next time. And take care, everyone, and happy listening.